It's Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Welcome to Disruptive FM, where business and culture collide. Sponsored by Microsoft and Branding Strategy Insider. With your host, Jeffrey Cologne.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, what's up? It's Disruptive FM, episode 12, for the week ending Friday, the 27th of July, 2018. It's hot in Seattle. I'm Jeffrey Cologne, your audio guide for the next 15 minutes or so as we dissect the culture of business and look at what's happening at the intersection of tech, media, marketing, and popular culture. Cue the record.
Here are this week's trending topics. Cord-cutting army.
Nothing the cable companies do is stopping the affliction terrorizing the TV industry. The cord-cutting army is recruiting more to its forces, and soon you may want to join. Cable providers have been wringing their hands and pulling out deal after deal to try to keep cable TV subscribers. Most recently, they started bundling Netflix subscriptions with cable packages. They even sent a hitman salesperson to my house the other week to try and sell me on their awesome channel lineup. No, I'm not interested in ESPN5. And a new report from eMarketer shows that their tactics aren't working. In fact, it's making the situation look more dire. Not only is the rate of TV watchers opting for over-the-top, or OTT service, on the rise, where they just want to watch internet TV providers like Netflix instead of paying for cable. It's also accelerating faster than projected growth rates. Projections put the number of cord cutters, adults who cancel pay TV opting instead for OTT, at 33 million, which is 32% of TV watchers. All right, that's almost a third now. That exceeds 2017 projections of 27 million, or 22%. So 10% more than initially predicted. On the flip side, eMarketer says that 186 million U.S. adults will watch pay TV in 2018, which marks a 3.8% decline from 2017. Last year, pay TV watchers declined 3.4%, so the rate of attrition is increasing. The growth rates of the OTT providers tell the other side of the story. Netflix reached 100 million subscribers in 2017. Amazon showed that it counts 26 million Prime members as U.S. viewers. Hulu garnered a walloping 40% growth in subscribers in 2017, reaching 17 million viewers. It also launched Hulu Live TV, which is like basic cable via a Hulu subscription, and is proving to be incredibly popular. And YouTube and Facebook, via Facebook Watch and IGTV, are in an all-out war to capture the millions of eyeballs to which they already have access. So what does this mean for brands that used to connect with younger demographics on network TV who don't watch network TV anymore? Well, we turn to Mark Sperling, founder and CEO of Group Y, a marketing agency based in Southern California for the answer and future-proofing. Here's what Mark had to say in an interview I conducted with him in person from the Alexis Hotel in downtown Seattle this past week.
I think now they're looking at different areas, that those touch points that these kids are at, kind of that demographic. There's definitely the content aspect, whether it's living online, utilizing influencers, utilizing some of the sponsored athletes or individuals that they're working with, like-minded individuals that the brand aligns themselves with. I think the experiential side, more of that hands-on, touch and feel, the real-life experience aspect is becoming more of that. It's really interesting. I think brands are really trying to immerse themselves in the youth's life from all aspects of it, and you see it day to day, whether it's on the retail side, in online side, the content side, the people that they align themselves with, and it's something that I think the brands are starting to think a little bit more so outside of the box. In the past, it was always about taking ads out in traditional media outlets, whether it was a magazine or eventually online, whether the Google ads or TV, taking the commercials out. Now it's a complete shift from that. I think the youth today look at that and they kind of almost move away from that. they kind of are looking at that and they kind of shun those companies that do that because they don't really see that as an authentic way of speaking to them. They want to have a brand they align themselves with where they feel like it's part of their life. They feel like they have almost in a sense an ownership or an entitlement to that brand. They feel like the brand adds something to who they are, whether it's their personality, their beliefs, things that they truly are passionate about. And so I think that's where you're going to see this major shift occurring with that.
That was Mark Sperling, founder and CEO of Group Y, on how brands can connect with younger audiences who no longer watch cable TV because they're cord cutting, in an interview from the Alexis Hotel in downtown Seattle earlier this week.
Trending topics on DFM. Work is killing us.
Ronald Reagan once quipped that they say hard work never killed anyone, but I figure why take the chance? Yet things have changed since the Gipper pretended to loaf in the Oval Office. Toxic work environments are as dangerous to health as secondhand smoke, argues Jeffrey Pfeffer, a professor at Stanford Graduate School of Business, in his latest book, Dying for a Paycheck. A giant of business scholarship, Mr. Pfeffer teaches one of Stanford's most popular courses on office politics and power. His early works looked at organizational design and how it sapped employee productivity rather than enhanced it. His previous book in 2015, Leadership BS, examined the gap between what companies say and what they actually do. He reprises that theme in his latest work, bringing a trove of original data to make his case. So what's the one big insight in his book? Well, that most companies do things they shouldn't do because they don't know any better. They merge even though mergers aren't healthy for workers or shareholders. And they use these silly stack ranking systems that pit worker against worker in a way that leaves people fudging numbers just to say they were busy and made impact. In other words, they lie. Those they cut, well, they're left wondering how to keep it all together and end up suffering from high rates of mental and physical health issues. So what does Pfeffer think we need to do? He says chronic disease comes from stress and the unhealthy behaviors stress induces. Surveys consistently show that the workplace is one of the top 2 or 3 sources of stress. Therefore, controlling healthcare costs has to involve changing workplace practices. Within the last 100 years, countries got serious about reducing deaths from physical injuries at work through laws passed by groups like OSHA. And in the developed world, they've been remarkably successful in doing so. Is it now time to get just as serious about reducing the psychosocial toll from contemporary work arrangements? To be continued.
Trending topics on DFM. Oligopoly Welfare.
So we have all these huge companies just doing whatever they want now, and customers really have no choice. Lately, some just move into neighborhoods like the East Village and take over where CBGB used to stand and turn it into a late-stage capitalist shopping footprint. Target. Others move into poor neighborhoods and gentrify them with overpriced smartphones. These companies have an unfair advantage because there aren't many competitive choices. So the big takeaway is understanding the difference between monopoly and oligopoly. Why? So when you start your own company, for the listeners of DFM out there, you know how to differentiate your product or service in the marketplace and can do an end run around these giants. Okay, so really, what is the difference between the two? Well, let's start with a monopoly. A monopoly refers to an economic market for a specific product or service where there is only a single provider of that service. This means that the single provider, be it a government entity or a corporation, can dictate prices and other factors, and that the end consumers, for the most part, need to accept it. There are no alternatives. In many countries, monopolies are frowned upon and governments actively oppose them. And in extreme cases like Standard Oil, they have forced the companies to break into smaller entities. The reason for this is that government and the public in general want to avoid situations where a company can dictate terms to people and charge far more than is justified for their product because there are no alternatives. Very few industries have a monopoly in place, though in recent years, Some companies have been plagued by government inquiries and actions directed at their near monopolies in their respective industries. In a way, this is a result of too much success, as they both rose to the top and defeated their competition to end up being the market leader by an unsurmountable margin. Now, what's an oligopoly? An oligopoly refers to an economic market where there are a small number of players which dominate the industry. While in some industries this is sufficient to still keep a competitive environment, where each is seeking to beat the others, there is a risk that the limited number of players will collude. Historically, a prime example of an oligopoly has been the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, where a limited number of countries have dictated oil production and prices to the global economy. This has changed significantly over time as more and more countries become oil producers, but OPEC still has a major role on the global economy. OPEC's oil embargo of 1973 was a key example of what can happen when producers collude on pricing, where oil prices globally increased over 300% in a few short months. So, where do the oligopolies stand? Well, just look at where you can shop if you have retail choice, and then take a look at who your telco and telecom providers are. The warfare is real.
And now, Disruptive FM presents... What?
What kind of shit is that?
Come on!
So every week we see a headline about corporate malfeasance, something that's happening on the business level that sort of causes us to spark in outrage every single week. Well, it's happened again. Ryanair, based in Ireland, a low-cost airline carrier, has threatened to cut 300 jobs among its Irish pilots and crews as a dispute over paying conditions continues. The low-cost airline also said it would reduce the number of planes based in Dublin to 24 from 30 for the winter season. Look, you're always going to have cutbacks, but it's how Ryanair went about this. They've taken the unusual step of publishing staff pay and benefit details online, claiming pilots earned between 190,000 and 220,000 euros a year. It also said cabin crew earned up to 40,000 euros a year, quote, more than double the living wage, end quote. Then Ryanair canceled 16 flights from Ireland on Tuesday, affecting about 2,500 passengers. Probably the least customer-friendly thing you could do. When workers said they weren't going to let down with their demands, well, Ryanair came back with this advice from Chief People Officer Eddie Wilson, who said to workers whose jobs were in sudden jeopardy, "Move to Poland. Quote, we would encourage both pilots and cabin crew to update your base transfer requests as an immediate priority," end quote, in a letter reported by Bloomberg. Well, first you say your workers are getting paid too much, and then you threaten them by pulling the rug out from under them and telling them that they have to relocate, and people still want to fly this airline? To that, we say,
What? Come on!
You're listening to Disruptive FM, the culture of business. I'm Jeffrey Colon. In the background, that's brand new music from Ross from Friends. No, not David Schwimmer. A guy called Ross from Friends, with the title track from his debut album, Family Portrait. The British lo-fi producer is part of LA's Brain Feeder Records, helmed by Flying Lotus. Ross from Friends' Family Portrait is out now. Hey, a reminder, DFM is social. Connect with us on Instagram or Twitter at DisruptiveFM. Connect with me personally on Instagram or Twitter at DJGEOFFE. Also enable our Alexa skill. Just say, Alexa, open Disruptive FM for our weekly tip sheet, music top 10 lists, and the most current episode. And of course, we are brought to you by the good people at Microsoft and Branding Strategy Insider. For more in-depth analysis, check out Microsoft.com/stories and BrandingStrategyInsider.com. Also, welcome to our new sponsor, Iographer. Create better video. At Iographer, they create accessories for your mobile device to help you make professional videos. Learn more about all the products we use at DFM to make our social videos at Iographer.com. Okay, time to take a look at some simmering stories that are starting to bubble up in a segment we call On the Radar.
Here's what's on our radar. Number 1.
Tommy Hilfiger is offering a line of smart clothing that rewards people for wearing the brand, according to TechCrunch. The new line is unlike other smart clothing, which help you to communicate or listen to music without using your phone. Instead, the line of shirts, hoodies, jeans, and accessories connects to the Tommy Jeans Explore app via Bluetooth to earn points for wearing the merchandise. The points can be exchanged for rewards, such as gift cards and items from the Tommy Hilfiger archives. Now everyone can be an influencer.
Number 2.
Europe is sweltering through one of the most intense heat waves in history. The number of wildfires across Europe is up 43%. Beaches along Poland's coast are closed due to a massive toxic algae bloom, and councils in the Netherlands are gritting their roads to stop them from melting. And the damage to German crops could reach 1.4 billion euros. Meanwhile, thousands of tickets have been canceled as soaring temperatures in the Eurotunnel buckle train air conditioning units. Scientists say the extreme weather could soon become the norm.
Number 3.
And this past week, Facebook stock plunged in the lowest dip in the history of trading on NASDAQ. It plunged about 18%. Now, the thing to watch here, and we've reported it on past episodes of DFM, is earnings were missed mainly because advertisers, well, they might be pulling back a little bit. Could this lack of transparency, which came out earlier this year at Facebook, possibly hurt them moving forward? We'll definitely return to this topic on a future episode. Okay, that's going to do it for another episode of DFM. We made it past 11 to 12. I'm Jeffrey Colon for everyone here at DFM. Thanks for spending some time with us. We'll catch you next week.
You've been listening to Disruptive FM with Microsoft Communications designer Jeffrey Colon. All thoughts are his own. Disruptive FM is produced in Los Angeles by Feeler Media.